Happy winter solstice and happy first day of winter. It's certainly a wintry sort of day here in Arizona, which would beg the question, why on earth would I be talking about spring and summer garden planting and creating microclimates? Well, I'll tell you why, because if you're going to do it, now is the time to get going on it. So, I don't think I told you guys, but on my birthday, I had Christy Caggiano come over, and I have a video where I went to her house. It's under when I used to do garden tours, and I went to see Miracle Haven Garden. So I've known her for a long time. She does a lot of cool stuff, and one of the things she's really great at is garden design and setup, and it's something that she does as a part of her work. So and she'll come out and do consultations with you, where she either does it where she's going to do the work, or does it based on a DIY, basically giving you ideas. And so moving to this big space, I really needed just a little bit of direction. I've got my stuff, and I didn't want to ditch all my stuff. I wanted to be able to work with what I've got, but also grow towards, getting the most out of all of this land and space. Okay. So like I said, she'll come out, and if you just want to do a DIY consultation, she spends a good 2 hours with you, and you get to keep all of her notes. Now, more importantly than sounding like I'm trying to sell you on a visit with Christy is all the information that I learned. And I'm by no means an expert, but I figure by kind of talking to you about things that I'm going to do to begin the creation of microclimates in my yard, then it can help you to either get encouraged to have a conversation with her to learn more in depthly about your property, or maybe it'll get you going and shaping up some of the things that you're doing in your yard. Okay, so I guess basically the most important things I told her is, I'm not getting rid of my bags. I do want to move into trees. I do want to have trees. And also, creating microclimate for us means that we're not just always strapped to shade cloth all the time. That with, especially with the amount of space that I have, there's ways that I can put trees in certain places, put plants in certain places, that I'm able to create the microclimates without just having yards and yards of shade cloth. And over time, once kind of my little urban farm, my little urban farm forest, if you will, once that's going, then I should get to a point where I really don't even need that much shade cloth. So, but even if you're in a situation where there's no way for you to create microclimates, like maybe you're in a rental, I think these ideas that I'm going to share with you are still ideas that you could incorporate in your short-term, long-term, mid-term situation in your garden. So without further ado, and at this perfect opportunity, because even though I'm not a fan of overcast days, this is a perfect time for this to be overcast, so that we don't have the sun kind of messing with what we've got going on here. So I'm going to first start. I'm going to flip over the camera really fast and stop jibber jabbering. But the first place I kind of want to start with is this tree right here. So when I first moved here, probably the smartest thing I did, besides the battle that I had with the birds, was putting that raised bed over in front of the, what's that called? Fig tree. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. Now, one kind of quasi mistake, if you will, that I made, and it was a learning thing, is thinking that this tree was a good microclimate, or a good kind of shade space for a lot of my plants. Now, most of the plants that I put over here did fine, did well. A lot of them were also kind of getting to the end of their season when we got here. But some drawbacks to this space right here is that a lot of the plants could have used a little bit more light. So I don't know if you can see, but we're about to have an arborist come, and so This back part of the tree, that's the east, I'm going to be opening that up a little bit more so more morning sun comes in here. So that's one drawback of being under the tree is a lot of things under there could have used a lot more light than the little bit of dapple light that they were getting. And then the second issue with that position is that because of the way the tree is, all the hard sun coming out of the west in the late afternoons was tough on a lot of my plants. Now, if you remember, I had a good strong row of peppers, which were my tallest plants, that helped a little bit, but even things all the way back to the tree that were sitting right by the tree had issues and struggled with the harshness of that sun coming. So with that being said, now that I've kind of told you what I did and what I'm going to do, what I did, now I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. So let's flip around, okay? So I'm giving you this view so you can get where I'm coming from when I get over there. Because this is facing south, this is west, that's the house. Well, that's east, sorry. And that is west. So one of the coolest things about Christy's visit is before she even got here, she had taken an aerial shot of, she got it off of Google Maps or whatever. And so she had already analyzed the yard for the way that the true directional sun goes and lands. And I'm not even going to pretend to be as educated as her when I talk about that. But by doing that, she was able to outline for me places that are what she called magic zones, and also ways to create other magic zones for myself. So the first magic zone that she isolated for me here is over here on this part of the house. Kind of if you think about where that piece of just say rock for right now. From right there coming out, following my finger, kind of going straight down to that rock and then over to the house. That's a magic spot. She said that a lot of people make the mistake because, again, in the summer the sun's going to come up over here, but as it goes over the house, this area gets shade from about 3 on. So it's going to get really, really awesome, amazing morning sun, good midday sun, and then it's going to get a break and the magic spot's going to do its job. She said a lot of people tend to think that this spot over here would be the better spot because it's going to get the shade first. But what that also means is it's not going to get all the sun that it needs for its full day exposure. Then the heat coming off of this wall. Now I'm talking more about vegetable gardening, okay? And then the start of this, I'm talking about vegetable gardens. So putting your bed over here is not going to be the choice spot. It's going to be over here, like I said, because of the way the sun's going to work. How this is going to get shadier, but it's going to be hotter because of what's coming off the fence. Now, there's other things that are going to do awesome in the hot zones, not so much tropicals, but more desert hardy things. She gave me a lot of different things, even like milkweeds and some stuff for hummingbirds. So there's stuff that's going to grow over here, but it's not going to be successful vegetables for you. And if you remember when, I'm going to just spin around here. This tree here right now is casting a big shadow into this yard right now. So that's another thing. So we're working with all sorts of things in the yard. Now, here's something crazy is this, this is where Flip Flop is buried. And this spot right here is really in shade almost all day long. Like it might get a little bit of morning sun, but maybe it's just because of Flip Flop that it does so well. But really, it doesn't get enough sun to produce vegetables like we'd want to. So, as you might well assume, I'm about to set up, which probably going to be a straw bale garden right here, again, as a part of how I'm going to develop my soil. And then I know that this middle spot is going to be a little bit more of a hot zone, a kind of so-so zone. So she said that I could maybe put like a dwarf citrus over here to give a little bit of shade. But I also have to worry about this irrigation pipe, if you see here. So we had to take down the shoestring tree here because it's growing over the irrigation pipe. So I feel a little leery about doing another tree over here right now. So that's magic spot 1. Now, She thought originally when she was looking at the mat that this right here would be a magic zone, but what happened, so for me, I'm going to cheat a little bit. And though my magic zone kind of ends right here, I'm going to go ahead and be able to bring it out to just about here. Not all the way out with the edge of the house, but then again, I'm going to get that shadow in the afternoon, and it's going to be a shadow over here. But this right here isn't a magic spot for me because it's shadow. So this area is never really going to get all the sun that it needs, including the break time that it needs. So again, I talked about kind of the things I'm going to do with the tree. I'm going to work to get this thinned out a little bit, but otherwise most of what's going on with the tree is just getting old dead stuff taken out so that when we have bad windstorms, it doesn't cause those broken branches to come down. So now we're going to travel over here to the other part of the yard, because for me, in the backyard, this is the area where my microclimates are going to kind of start. So the second awesome magic spot that she outlined for me, if you can guess, was right here in front of this fig tree. Now, unfortunately, it'd be great if I had a bigger bed, and maybe eventually I will, because after I'll show you that new baby over there, but since we built that, now we think it's so pretty. So maybe eventually I would do a bed all the way till just before this grape stump, which is live. It's part of the active plant, because this spot right here in front of this fig tree, you know that because we used to sit here. This is where Della and I would come and sit in the afternoons when it was so hot, because the sun gets on the other side of that, and this area is just all shade, whereas during the day, you know, it's getting plenty of light, plenty of rich sun that it needs. But then when it comes to hard times, you see my naked fig, when it comes to hard times, then it's got all this shade from the fig tree. So that's also why I decided to put my asparagus bed here, because wherever you put asparagus needs to be a long-term spot. And even though I thought it was over there where we were just at, kind of up close to that fence, it's not. So again, this bed is going to get full sun throughout the day, coming over from the east, that beautiful morning sun. But when things really heat up between the fence line and when this fig fills back out, and it's going to be even bigger this year than it was last year, then this is going to get awesome shade. It's going to get awesome respite from the, you know, the hottest part of the day. Now, she also pointed out that over here would be another good place, maybe where I just threw that tomato in there for fun. Somewhere over here would be a good place to put another kind of deciduous tree, like the fig's deciduous, meaning basically for this intents and purposes that it's going to drop its leaves. And that's great, and we're going to talk about that more in the front yard. But this, obviously, if all these leaves stayed on here, then this isn't going to get as much light as it would to grow these winter hardy things, but because the leaves come off, then it still gets plenty of sun over here. So we'll talk more about that in a minute. So I don't know exactly what long-term tree I want to do here, but I'm thinking that I'm going to use a couple of moringas in different places to jump, because they're so fast growing, and that'll give me a good full tree in like 6 to 8 months. So that's one idea I have. So the next thing, so now if you can see, this bed's going to be here, this bed's going to be here. Another piece of advice she gave me was to take the trellises and have them going this way versus the way that they're going right now. So this trellis here will probably be coming off the bed this way, and we might even do a second one this way. And then where, if you can imagine with me now, so where this bag is, this bag, and I'm gonna put, because the bags are good at getting rid of the grass underneath and getting it to bare dirt. So I'm literally going to use bags to help me do this. But so if you can imagine a bag there, and there. So 6 spots. The bags won't be there. I'll remove the bags when it warms up, and then in each of those 6 spots, I'm gonna plant directly into the ground okra plants, so that the okra plants are gonna grow up, you know, in the ground. I expect they could get, you know, as high as, I don't know, probably 7 foot. You know, so then again, the okras are going to create all this shade so basically where the shade of the fig stops, the okras will be then shading all this stuff that's coming off the bed into the trellis, off this trellis over here, probably with stuff in bags, because I'm not ready to make a bed right here. So that's another place. That's a way that I'm going to create my first new kind of, what do you call it? Magic zone. Now, the second way I'm going to do that is I especially love hanging up my sheets, but I love hanging up stuff. I love this being here, but this is also, because this is already in the ground, this is also an awesome place to put an umbrella. So again, if you think about now, the okra is casting me a shadow to about right here, then I can still put more bags here by having an umbrella here that's open and covering all this here. So now I'm to about right here in my garden, and forget about the trellises, right here in my garden, that I've got all these different growing spaces and growing areas. And then, okay, you come over here to these places where the bales have been rendered, and also what's going to be a new bed. Well, this is a bed sitting right out in the middle of the yard. This is a place that we'd almost have to have shade cloth, and we might still in the end, but I'm going to go in here, and maybe over here, and plant some more Rosella hibiscus that, again, if they're planted in the ground, I already know I can get them 5 or 6 foot tall in a grow bag. If they're in the ground, they're going to get huge, and they're going to branch out, and they're going to fill out, and again, the greenhouse won't be here. This is going to be a garden bed. So that hibiscus is just going to cast this beautiful shadow right here, and I'm going to double back it with some right here in this row. Now, I haven't shared with you much, but I've got these fava beans going, and these fava beans are going to get huge too. And I really don't think they're going to reach like their full picking maturity until probably when it's hot. So I've got a vision now hoping that they're going to be super tall. So again, that's creating little places in here. The trellises won't be here, but that's creating little places in here where plants can get respite from the afternoon sun. So now I've talked so long, I wonder if I should take you out front, but I'll promise I'll be fast. No, I'll do it another time. You tell me, okay? You tell me after seeing this video if you are interested enough in knowing what I'm doing in the front yard, and if you are, then I'll do another video for you. Okay, but I hope that you got a lot out of this, and I hope that, like I said, especially with the things I'm gonna do that weren't already here, like the house or like the fig tree, I think those are things that could really help you get some natural shade going with things that don't care about the heat. So I kind of lied, because I did have to tell you one more thing about back here. So originally, you remember I told you that I had this vision of a patio here. Well, another cool thing that Christy's awesome about, and this is why it's worth it to go see the tour that I did of her yard, is that she's great at creating rooms in the yard. So she really guided me to anchor my vision differently, so that kind of coming from this post and this post here, that would be then kind of the walkout patio. And we talked about putting a trellis up here, and then on either side of, is it a trellis? No, not a trellis, but like a pergola. So, you know, the pergola is going to have a side over here, and it's going to have a side over here. And both of those sides are going to have all kinds of things. But and this is long term, okay? Vining up them. Then she tells me another awesome thing is, she's like, you should put a bed right here. This spot right here is shade, except for in the summer when it gets that west sun coming on it. So she said, yeah, put your bed here. Then when you get rainfall coming down, that rainfall will feed your bed. She's like, then right here, you put up some kind of trellis structure with a vine coming up it that'll block everything that's going on in that bed. So I just had to share that one with you before I really let you go. Alrighty, well, this is a crazy week. Obviously, we're going into this awesome holiday to celebrate Christ's birth. But it seems like everybody around my house is trying to come up with some shenanigans. Maisie cut her finger pretty good washing dishes, and my husband, I'm about to have to take him to the ER. I think he might have appendicitis. So keep us in your good thoughts. And meanwhile, like, I just want to fill up that bed that you saw over there. So, and I've got the giggles because I'm nervous. So, not about talking to you guys, but with everything that's going on with my husband. So, I hope you have a great day. And if I don't talk to you again before all of the holiday experiences come along, happy holidays, Merry Christmas. I'll talk to you before the New Year's. But otherwise, I wish you all the blessings and all the best and lots of comfort in this holiday time, no matter what's going on for you. Okay? Have the best day ever.